Alright, so we just had the amazing 2.0 live stream for Zenless Zone Zero, and it gave us a lot of info about the upcoming characters as well as stuff for the anniversary, which is looking to be pretty good. But today I do want to focus on the two upcoming S rank agents that are coming in 2.0, being Yixuan and Ju Fufu. So today I'm going to go over the info that they gave us in the live stream, and I'm just going to give my overall thoughts on the two of them, because I do think that they both do have a lot of potential. So starting out here with Yixuan. Yixuan is an Auric Ink character of the Rupture specialty. Now I know those are both things that we have not seen before, so to explain each one real quick, Auric Ink is very similar to how Miyabi is a Frost character, but Frost is basically just like a special version of Ice. For Auric Ink, it's a special version of Ether. So Yixuan is an Ether character. And the Rupture specialty is a new specialty that's being added to Zenless Zone Zero. And this specialty is going to have a mix of offense and defense. So they're not going to be like complete glass cannons, kind of like how DPSs tend to be. But they are also going to be able to put up some solid numbers as well, which is pretty nice. And the big change for Rupture characters, in addition to that, is the fact that they have a new stat called Sheer Force. And Sheer Force allows any Rupture character to ignore enemy defense on their attacks based on how high this stat is. And for Yixuan specifically, she's going to be able to increase her Sheer Force based on her max HP. So she is going to be an HP scaling damage dealer. So with that explanation out of the way, let's talk about Yixuan's overall just general gameplay loop. So the first big thing about Yixuan is that she doesn't have energy in the normal sense. With most characters, instead of energy, she has adrenaline. It uses the exact same meter and it kind of works similarly, but it does have some different mechanics with it as well. And Yixuan's able to gain adrenaline by using certain skills, mainly her special attack and her perfect dodge, and you are able to start combat with max adrenaline, where most characters will only start with a little bit of energy. In the beginning of battle, Yixuan will have her adrenaline maxed out from the beginning, which is very nice to open up with some pretty solid damage if you can get some support off pretty quickly. So the next resource that Yixuan has, because she does have a few different resources here, are going to be her technique points. This is the extra resource bar that you typically see for characters with special resources, and anytime Yixuan consumes adrenaline, you're going to gain technique points. And when the technique point bar is maxed out, you can consume technique points to use Yixuan's ultimate, which is really interesting because you don't need decibels just to get her ultimate up. Now she does have two different ultimate animations for whether you use decibels or whether you use the technique points. So there are going to be situations where you're going to be able to ult pretty quickly because if you could time the technique point ultimate with the decibel ultimate, you could get some pretty interesting results there as well. And whenever you do use her ultimate, Yixuan gets one Auric Ink point. And this is going to be really good for two things here. The first is that when you use the dodge button, which is also like the dash, you'll be able to go into the light as air state, and this is going to let her grab onto her ink bird and gives her a lot of mobility. Then, while you are in the light as air state, if you use Yixuan's basic attack, you're going to be able to consume the Auric Ink point and deal a pretty large amount of Auric Ink damage in a pretty big area as well, so you'll be able to hit a lot of enemies with it. And this attack will recover adrenaline as well. So this sort of leads into a gameplay loop pretty much, where you want to use your adrenaline to get technique points, use the technique points to use your ultimate, and then use the Auric Ink point to deal a lot of Auric Ink damage. And then that goes back to you getting more adrenaline. So it has a pretty cool gameplay loop there overall for Yixuan. Then to go over just the other parts of her kit here, the other skills of note, her special attack is able to activate perfect dodge if an enemy attacks you during the beginning of it because she jumps back, which is pretty nice for just getting extra dodge off, especially since that does give you extra adrenaline. Yixuan also has a heavy basic attack, which you do need a certain amount of adrenaline for, and this ends up being a very nice form of crowd control and grouping enemies up, which is going to be really good to make sure you're getting a lot of your damage off on these enemies. Plus, if you're running her with someone who can benefit from enemies being, clustered together, like a support or stunner, that could also be very good as well. And this heavy basic, if you time it properly, it can also trigger perfect dodge, meaning that you're going to get some extra adrenaline back as well. Then for the EX special, it's going to be a charge attack. If while you're charging, an enemy tries to hit you, you're going to be able to block any of their attacks. And once you let go of the charge to start the attack, if an enemy hits you right at that perfect timing, then Yixuan's going to be able to recover some adrenaline and also negate the damage from these attacks as well, giving her a nice way to avoid damage while still being able to put out her own damage. It's a little bit similar to how Miyabi's 5th hit of her basic attack can block enemy attacks, but Yixuan's is just a step above. And also, after using the EX special attack, you are able to press the special attack if you have some extra adrenaline to do an extra follow-up as well, which is pretty nice. Then the last part of the kit of note is Yixuan's ultimate as well. The only other thing outside of the auric ink point mechanics is that when using her ultimate, it's going to redistribute the HP of the entire team equally among all your allies. So if you have one ally that took a lot of damage and you use Yixuan's ultimate, everyone's going to have an equal amount of HP, which is pretty nice overall to not really have her be like a healer, but give her a way to keep the allies alive if they did take a lot of damage. So now for my thoughts for Yixuan, I think she's going to be a very strong DPS character. I definitely do want to see more about her though once we get the full kit to see what kind of teams I would think to run. I do like that you're able to run a lot of skills on her or do a lot of skills very quickly. And there also is that possibility to use your ultimate twice in a row if you really want to get just a huge burst of damage, maybe during like a stun window or something. So that can also be very good there. I do think that while she has a lot of resources, she can also be pretty simple gameplay-wise because she does have a pretty defined gameplay loop where you build up the adrenaline, use it to get the technique points, then go into the ultimate with the technique points, getting the auric ink point, and then using that auric ink point to regain more adrenaline. So pretty solid gameplay loop there overall, I think. And I think that Yixuan is probably going to be a great pull for most players, especially players who started after 1.4, because those players do not have Miyabi. And Miyabi has been absolutely crazy character. Even still now, she clears endgame like it's nothing for the most part. So definitely having a character like Yixuan, I'm not sure if Yixuan's going to be exactly on that same level, but I have a feeling she'll be the closest we've had to Miyabi since Miyabi came out. So now to move on to Ju Fufu. So Ju Fufu is a fire stun character, and she has some kind of interesting gameplay here. So the general core of her gameplay is going to be around her dealing attacks alongside her sort of popcorn companion. So the companion's name is Hu Wei, and Hu Wei is on the field all of the time. So even when you swap out from Ju Fufu, you are able to still have Hu Wei deal damage passively to the enemies, which is pretty cool. And all of Hu Wei's attacks will be able to regain might and momentum, which are going to be the two main resources that Ju Fufu uses in her kit. So starting out here with might, you can gain might by using her EX special, dash attack, and ultimate. And once you have the maximum amount of might, you'll be able to consume it to enhance Hu Wei's damage. And you can also consume might as well to activate Ju Fufu's chain attack after she deals damage. So you can get some extra uses of the chain attack, which once we go into that more so in a bit here, that is actually very powerful because there's a very nice buff attached to that chain attack. The other main resource is going to be momentum. Ju Fufu can gain momentum by using the EX special, her assist follow-up, and her ultimate as well. And anytime she has momentum after using a skill, she's going to be able to enter the spinning state, which basically has her spin on top of Hu Wei, and they are able to deal some extra damage with that as well, which is very nice overall. And then for Ju Fufu's other abilities that they talked about, or at least the ones that I think were notable, starting out with the chain attack, I did hype it up a minute ago. So when using Ju Fufu's chain attack, she's going to grant the Tiger's Roar state to all allies, and this state is going to increase the allies' crit damage, their chain attack damage, and their ultimate damage. So you're going to get a pretty noticeable damage increase from this, especially if you're running a character that is, for DPSs of course it's going to help, but especially ones that do a lot of damage from their ultimate. So Ju Fufu is going to have some pretty solid support for the team there as well. Then for her basic attack, it's important to note that the third hit of it can be endlessly spammed to get more hits in, which can be good considering she is a stun character to get more hits in for some more days. Then for the dash attack, she does have a dash attack where she's going to also spin on top of Hue, and this consumes momentum to deal some extra fire damage as well. And the really cool thing about the spinning state is that even when you switch to another character, Ju Fufu will continue spinning, so you're able to get some damage from her and some days from her even when she's not on field. And then the last part of her kit that I want to talk about before I go into my thoughts is her additional ability. So the condition for this is to have an attack or rupture ally on the team, which is very good because she's going to work with pretty much any DPS that could take advantage of a stun character very well. And with this additional ability active, it's going to increase the max decibels for all allies by 1,000, making your maximum decibels go up to 4,000 total. And whenever an attack or rupture ally uses their ultimate, they're going to be able to recover a portion of their decibels right away, which is really nice. And pairing that with the max decibel increase, you're going to have a pretty easy time getting back up to your ultimate for sure. And from the live stream, it looked like about 250 decibels were recovered with this additional ability, when using the ultimate, which is pretty good. We'll have to see what the actual number is once we have her full kit, but from the way it looked in the live stream, it looked like about 250, which is not bad at all. So now for my overall thoughts for Ju Fufu, I think that her kit is very interesting with the way she has some really good buffs through her chain attack, and also she does have that off-field presence as well. But I am concerned about one thing with Ju Fufu, and it is the fact that they did not mention impact or days at all during the live stream for her. And this is concerning for me because she's a stun character. So it makes me wonder where exactly in her kit is she providing her stun capabilities. Is she just having some kind of core passive thing that isn't really talked about in the live stream that we're going to find out when we get her full kit? Or is a lot of her stun potential going to be locked behind her W engine, which would just not be a great thing for a lot of players, especially since she's competing basically with Yixuan for free-to-play players, which I'm pretty sure most people are going to go for Yixuan anyway. So not the greatest, outlook for Ju Fufu if that is the case. But I think that if she has enough impact and days related things in her kit, I think she could probably still perform very well. Plus the additional buffs that she gives are going to be nice for characters like Hugo, who can take advantage of ultimate damage really well. But that's what I think about the two upcoming characters here. I also will make a full video dedicated to Pan Yinhu, the A rank, once we have his full kit as well, so definitely do stick around for that. But if you enjoyed my content and want to see more from me, definitely be sure to hit that subscribe button. But I want to thank you all so much for watching. I'm excited for this anniversary here, so you'll see plenty of more Zenless content from me. And with that, I will see you all next time.